Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 296th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the MSP studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron, but I'm getting a little bit worried about producer Cameron.
Yeah?
Do we know where he is? Have you seen him?
Actually,
heard from him?
I don't know where he is. I have heard from him. He said like 2 weeks ago that he wasn't going to be able to be here tonight. And so that's why I'm running this. Hopefully everything goes well there.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks. But yeah, we don't actually know where he is.
You think we'll ever find out?
We'll have to confront him next week.
Yeah.
Oh, about his whereabouts.
It's been mysterious.
Yeah. He did give us a heads up, though, so he's not kidnapped. We know that much.
That's good.
Yeah. Unless it was a planned kidnapping. Yeah. I'm kind of sleepy today.
Yeah.
I had to get some caffeine in me, wake me up a little bit. But
What's your go-to caffeine?
Oh, you know, the energy drink, NOS.
Oh.
You heard of it?
I've
Have
had a few run-ins myself.
you heard of black coffee?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah. That's
Nothing in it, just straight up black coffee.
straight up. Yeah.
Specify.
Mix them together?
Those NOS in?
No, I would never do that.
Okay, yeah, that.
But that does remind me of a story I heard on the radio one time about Kevin Garnett. Have I told you this before?
I don't think so.
When he was a rookie in the NBA, he said this on the radio. He would mix black coffee and Gatorade
Okay.
into one little, electrolyte caffeine brew.
Does he know you can just have two drinks sitting in front of you and you can just drink them separately?
That's a great question.
That's something I like to do. I like to have black coffee and water.
Yeah.
Just like, kind of going back and forth.
Yeah. Even going back and forth with coffee and Gatorade sounds awful.
Yeah.
But that's...
Okay. Well, and when you're a basketball player, you're like that, and
He was coming right out of
busy.
high school, too.
you got stuff
And,
to do. You got to
rookie year.
just drink it and get on
Gotta
with your
keep
day.
up. Yeah. Exactly. Anyway, what are we going to talk about this week? We're going to talk about there's a basketball bat signal that's been teased, what that might be. Basketball opponents for next season have been announced. There's been some updates on the EA Sports college football game. And there's a few other things in here. Before we do all of that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review wherever you listen to us, and of course you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. And actually, Kyle, I want to start with a big shout out to friend of the show, Bud Sasser, for graduating from Mizzou Law.
Congrats.
Everybody happy for him.
Nice job.
Congrats, grad. We'll have to have him on another time to talk about that.
Absolutely.
See what he's up to. Yeah, congratulations, bud. And I just have some like random little news items that don't really fit in any broader category. So the first one is Missouri State joining Conference USA, Conference United States of America.
Yeah. It's a pretty weird one. For basketball, I feel like it's going to be weird to not see them in the Missouri Valley Conference. They've been in there for like 35 years or something like that, which they might actually be able to compete in the CUSA, I feel like, in basketball. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do for football because obviously they've been an FCS program and a subpar one at that. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see them make the jump to FBS.
There will be, correct me if I'm wrong, there will be no schools in the state of Missouri in the Missouri Valley Conference.
That's correct.
That feels like a shame.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it's, historically like a pretty interesting conference with some good history and stuff, but it's not quite been the same since like Creighton and Wichita State left, 5-6 years ago or whenever that was.
Yeah, that was the writing on the wall at that point. So Conzo Martin is going to be coaching in Conference USA.
Conzo Martin coaching Missouri State in the CUSA.
We're going to see how many episodes in a row we can find an excuse to bring him up.
We have talked about Missouri State a few times, like recently, haven't we now?
Yeah.
Didn't you make your Trayvon Brazile prediction last week to Missouri State?
Yeah, it's going to happen. Just wait. Yeah. A few weeks ago when we were talking about Arkansas and John Calipari and everything, I was like, trolling a little bit with Arkansas fans in the comments saying that they're going to lose recruiting battles to Conzo at Missouri State. Conzo's going to get the Link Academy pipeline up and running. Anyway, moving on.
They said we needed to be afraid of Chicken Man, right?
Yes, exactly.
Chicken Tender Man.
Yes. Be afraid of the Tyson
They
dynasty.
have a lot of different types of chicken.
They
so
do.
I think
You'd have to.
grilled,
Yeah.
chicken nugget,
Boneless.
boneless.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, they're versatile.
Yeah. Well, they're not. None of it's stepping foot in my house anymore. I can tell you that. This is not a Tyson household anymore. I don't know if it ever was. It's definitely not now. Another just random thing that doesn't go anywhere else, but I saw. I'm gonna pull up the tweet here. I almost said future Missouri Tiger. We can hope. But Nixa High School's Jackson Cantwell tweeted about his district's track meet where he broke the sophomore national record for shot put by 2 feet. Had multiple throws over 70 feet. So, as you know, I know a lot about shot put. So 70 feet, that feels like
a
real
very,
milestone.
A very far way to throw it.
Yeah. You don't need to know how many feet is a lot, but if you know that he broke the national record for sophomores, that's impressive.
This, I guess we're saying he's a kid, really.
Yeah.
He's a child.
Yeah.
This kid is insane.
Yeah.
Like, just built different.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling he's going to keep breaking his own records because he's the only person he has to compete with at this point. He's going to keep doing it. Yeah. So, why, the way they throw it, kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll know the answer to this. Like, is that for because it's going to go farther, or is it because it's heavy and you kind of need to protect your body a little bit? Because you might hurt yourself if you throw it like a baseball.
Yeah, so...
Could you throw it farther if you tried to throw it like a baseball?
Surely not.
Too heavy.
But also, in my head, you have to do it that way by rule.
Okay, it's probably just by rule.
But I have no idea. That's just what I've always thought.
Surely.
That sounds like something that I just decided in my head when I was... The first time I ever saw it as a child.
Yeah.
I was like...
They're making up the game. They're like, well, you're going to have to throw it this really goofy way.
Yeah, just tuck it under your chin and spin around. That's this event.
You got to get a little bit dizzy before you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. They've got him out there throwing it on a football field, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was like...
That's how they measure it.
Looked like he was bouncing further than anybody expected in the video that I saw.
Got the English on it.
But how long can he... Is he going to go to the Olympics one day?
I don't know.
Are we going to watch Jackson Cantwell winning the gold medal somewhere?
Probably. Can you play college football and go to the Olympics?
They surely will let him, right?
Yeah.
That might be a deal breaker. Jackson, if you're out there listening, don't go to any school that won't let you pursue your dreams in shot put. Eli Drinkwitz, if you're out there, make sure you let him pursue his dreams of shot put.
It can't be that big of a time commitment, right? You just go out there and spin around and throw it, and you're good.
You're already doing the weightlifting and stuff for football.
Yeah.
It must cross over. Anyway.
Future Missouri Tiger, though. That's your prediction?
That's my prediction. Still a ways to go. Still a ways to go. We would take a commitment any day, though. I think he's 6th in his class. Those rankings fluctuate quite a bit before it's all said and done. All right, I want to jump into a little bit of basketball news here. A guy that we've had our eye on in the transfer portal, Keyshawn Pryor, has committed to Louisville, off the board. Probably wasn't going to play the 5 anyway, so maybe not a great positional fit for Mizzou there, but doesn't matter, going to Louisville. However, we should anticipate an announcement soon because I can't remember where he said it, but Dennis Gates was hinting to the media to expect a bat signal this week. Now, I think the only name out there that makes sense to be pulling the trigger on a Mizzou commitment right now is South Carolina transfer big Josh Gray. I don't know how much detail we want to go in on Josh Gray before he announces, but we speculated a little bit about this, that he might be the player to be named later in the Jordan Butler trade with South Carolina.
You've made a few interesting calls on this podcast recently, Cameron, that have received some recognition at this point. I don't even know if you said that with like any like education behind it, or mainly just a joke, but that's actually looking like that might be like what actually happens here.
Yeah.
Is that Jordan Butler is going to go to South Carolina, and I'm sorry, I forget his name.
Josh Gray.
Josh Gray is going to end up at Missouri.
Both 7-footers.
You said that like a month ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, that was, his name's been out there as like a guy that Mizzou has reached out to for a while. And as the list dwindles, as people go elsewhere, Missouri keeps missing on the transfer big. Tell me if you've heard that story before.
For a few years, yes.
And so it's coming down to it here. And that's the most likely name, but I guess it's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
I think if this does happen, we'd be trading like potential, like youth and potential, but a lot of inexperience for not like a low ceiling veteran who you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
For 1 year.
Yeah, which we probably would have taken that last year because we had an absolute like black hole. Down low, but in retrospect, I don't think that anybody was chasing Jordan Butler out the door, but it might, I don't know that we could regret seeing him go, but the way his transfer happened though, he committed to South Carolina literally like a day after he entered the portal, so that might have been something that was destined to happen no matter what.
Yeah, potentially. So we'll see what happens there. If he picks Mizzou, we'll talk about him a little bit more next week. But that seems like maybe the most likely scenario there. And just recently, next year's basketball opponents were announced, home and away. So first, I'll give you the 3 opponents that Missouri will play both home and away. That is Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt.
Feels like a pretty good draw.
Yeah. It feels like the Arkansas is guaranteed to be that at this point, right?
Yeah. Guaranteed to be 2-0, yeah.
Guaranteed, yeah. Arkansas is guaranteed to be the one of the teams that we play twice every year. And Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, yeah, might as well. I'll give you the whole list here. The home opponents will be Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt. The away opponents, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and Vanderbilt.
Texas is in the SEC now.
Yeah. It'd be interesting traveling to Oklahoma and Texas.
Man, that's going to be weird.
Seeing that Longhorn on the court. I remember just thinking about like Mizzou, Texas basketball. I remember 2012, a big matchup. Texas had a guard, Jacobin Brown. Don't know if you remember him. He's now 34 years old. Wow. Anyway, that was a big game, I think, like 2012, I guess.
Well, we probably would have won then.
Yeah. And won at Texas, I think. And I remember Kim English, after the game, was being interviewed, and he like shouted out Jacobin Brown and just talking about how good of a player he was, and it was a big win for Mizzou at the time. So we'll be back in Austin to face the Longhorns next year.
My dad and I used to go to some NCAA tournament games back in that era of college basketball, and we would just go to like the closest venue. So unfortunately, we did watch Kansas play a few times back in the day, but we watched Texas play probably around that time. Good times though. Got to see a lot of cool teams play. Never got to see Missouri play, unfortunately.
Yeah, never got to see Missouri play. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm looking at the right box score here. I have Mizzou 67, Texas 66. Mizzou withstood a 13-2 run by Texas in the last 5 minutes of the game.
I remember that actually. Feels like Michael Dixon hit some clutch free throws or something at the end of that. I don't know. Closed it out.
That sounds about right. Anyway. The
Rivalry restored.
Yep. Welcome back, Texas. And Oklahoma, we have played them in the NCAA tournament. And
we did not win.
8-9 game.
Yep. That was Konzo's last season or second to last season?
Second to last. It was Drew Smith farewell game.
Yeah, it was like Drew Smith, Mark Smith crew.
Yeah, that was the COVID shortened season after the NCAA tournament got canceled.
I think so.
So looking forward to some games there. Now, we can switch gears to football a little bit. Biggest news of the week in college football is EA Sports College Football 25. The cover has been leaked. Both versions of the cover. There's a regular version, there's a deluxe version. Neither one of them include any trace of the Missouri Tigers. If you squint a little bit, there's a flag in the background with a big block M on it. And you can maybe make it look like a black and gold M instead of blue.
But, Michigan was well represented.
Yeah, Michigan very well represented. So the seems like, well, in both covers, the main athletes front and center are Michigan's running back Donovan Edwards, Colorado's Travis Hunter, and Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers. I'm just not thrilled. I wasn't thrilled by those selections. Wasn't thrilled by like the art design of either cover.
Yeah,
doesn't seem special enough for this like monumentous comeback of this game.
I agree with you.
And
we were talking about this before we started recording that it kind of feels like there's no like really obvious like superstar in college football right now, at least 4 months out from the season starting. So, and it almost felt like they agreed with that and just went with like a bunch of guys and Donovan Edwards, he was like a backup running back last season.
Had a much better season 2 years ago.
It seemed, I don't know, I'm confused. It definitely felt like they went with brand, not players.
Yeah.
Texas, Michigan, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like actually Travis Hunter maybe is the best selection of the three because he's much a more unique.
Yeah. And I thought that when I just saw like the Colorado across his chest at first, and I thought it was Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
But it was Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Luther Burden absolutely getting snubbed with like no representation whatsoever.
Yeah, even better reason that I think Luther Burden could have been represented.
Yeah. And I was thinking about like, I don't know, as Mizzou fans, the 11-win season with Luther Burden feels like an arrival of sorts or a reemergence, and the SEC media at least has been all over the Mizzou hype train this offseason so far. And I think that got me like geared up for more Mizzou representation in this video game.
You're exactly right that, some of the smaller outlets, maybe some of the podcasts and that type of media, which a lot of times are more in the weeds than even like the big box media type of outlets.
Yeah.
I've been super bought into Mizzou and have had fun kind of like hyping them up. And maybe we were like biased by, just getting hyped up by like kind of our own like echo chamber of like smaller media outlets and stuff. But whenever you zoom out and look at the whole like brand picture, you're like, oh, maybe we aren't, I don't know, maybe we don't hold a candle to some of these other like teams, or at least how much, revenue is being brought in through like sales and ticket sales or whatever, that kind of stuff. But I don't know.
I think like the biggest, with the renderings of the stadium project, that was a recent thing that everybody latched onto, was like, oh, Mizzou is really making moves. They're emerging as one of the top. They're really trying to compete at this top level of the SEC.
And they probably had to make these personnel decisions like months ago, but
Luther Burden was doing his thing months ago.
Exactly right.
And it is disappointing. Like obviously he's going to be in the game and we're going to play as Brady Cook and Luther Burden, and we'll always have that.
Right.
which is fantastic.
Yes.
The timing there is incredible.
Great. Yeah.
But as far as like the status of Mizzou football currently being reflected in this like cultural moment of this video game announcement,
Yeah. Just has not stirred anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing is, if Luther Burden continues on the trajectory that he's on, he truly will be one of the most known players in college football. This time next year, he's going to be a top 10 draft pick, all that. He probably will be the number 1 wide receiver drafted, all that kind of stuff. He's on that trajectory, but they are choosing players that still have eligibility left in college or still going to play another year. And so he will miss his chance to be in the limelight in that way.
Yeah. So that,
but maybe it won't matter to him whenever he's, a top 10 draft pick and all that stuff.
Right.
But.
Yeah. And it won't matter to us either when, we have the season that the potential is there, but they're not playing games right now.
In May.
We're trying to play fictional video games and, live out those fantasies.
Yeah. But it is bigger than that, though. It really is like representation. And, we think we deserve some.
Yeah. It makes me think like what would have needed to happen. Like, does winning 9 games the year before, like, what did Mizzou football as a program have to do in the last 5 years to warrant being included? I mean, there's some helmets on that one deluxe edition cover that, it's just like a little bit of everything there.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's like some random like graphic designer like getting paid like $30 an hour that made that cover. It's like it's just not that deep, guys.
That's true. Yes, it's like a couple of these are AI. Like, like
we're just like breaking it down. Like, what does this mean for Mizzou football?
Exactly. Hey, it's the middle of May. You're gonna have to reach sometimes. Yeah. So anyway, we're still looking forward to that video game coming out. They better do a decent job with that. I'm gonna be so frustrated if they don't. Another football news item: Eli Drinkwitz's name was invoked by one Hugh Freeze. Who was he talking about? Was that on Paul Feinbaum?
No, it was just some random roundtable discussion that he was having with a couple of media guys. I think he was playing a charity golf tournament or something like that.
Right.
I didn't recognize any of the media guys.
Well, they were asking him just like some very forward questions about the state of college football, and Mizzou got brought up, and Coach Drinkwitz got brought up, and Hugh Freeze was talking about like, this dude can really coach, and he's set up for success. He said they have a distinct advantage at Mizzou because of NIL laws and stuff, which we know. We've talked about that plenty.
We have, and we talked about it really in the same way he did that. There's probably a timer on this thing. Mm-hmm. Like Missouri does have distinct advantages with, the state of Missouri being progressive, which is, they were progressive on this issue, and it has given Missouri advantages in recruiting and like some of the ways they can do things in house. He brought up. Yes, and that they're not having to go through like a third party to raise money and that kind of stuff. So. That was interesting, and he was like, I don't know, put like a 12 months on it or something like that, and it will be interesting to see if that really does happen. Yeah,
it is kind of bizarre that states like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, that are like, you'd think those are the states that college football would have an outsized influence on lawmaking.
Yes,
unfortunately. Yeah, but it's Missouri of all places that jumped on that first.
Yeah, you got like Tommy Tuberville, who's like in like a pretty high. Yeah, is he in like Congress or something?
He is a U.S. senator.
He's a U.S. senator, and he's a former football coach.
Yeah,
that's a good point though. I'm surprised that some of those southern states haven't jumped on it.
He'll jump. Tuberville will jump on it whenever he can personally benefit from it. That's when he'll be on board.
He is actually one of the most well known for like his like stock trading and stuff like that. Like he's making a lot of money off of that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
can he be paid from NIL? Then
he's in.
Yeah.
Anyways, another funny thing I thought that Hugh Freeze said was that they've got this text group for all the SEC coaches. Like, man, I would pay good money to be be like a fly on the wall in that that text message thread. But he said there's some coaches that just don't really say anything, but some are pretty chatty, and like everybody immediately was just like, oh yeah, I bet that's Coach Drinkwitz, and he's like, yep, that's Coach Drinkwitz is he's pretty talkative in there, but we're really good friends, and that's how they got into like and he can coach and all that stuff. So it's pretty funny to think about all the coaches interacting in a text thread. Probably have some of them like typing with one finger. And,
yes. Some of them, they're like their assistant is actually the one sending all the messages.
Yeah.
That's got to be embarrassing when like you get fired from.
They got to kick you out.
Yeah.
I think he did mention it was like monitored by the SEC offices or something like that. Maybe not monitored, but they set it up and all that stuff.
You have to talk to, there's a like, there's a mods for the coach group chat at the SEC office. You have to get people banned sometimes.
I wish that was my job.
Moderating the coach group chat. Okay, so talking a little bit more on the field, Mizzou football. We talked last week about the defensive line recruiting and a couple of misses in the transfer portal. Week before, we talked about a win in the transfer portal, getting Eddie Kelly from Georgia Tech. But then we didn't put it all together last week and talk about his impact this coming season with the defensive line. But basically, last week we said no need to panic from missing on the guys that went to Oklahoma and Miami. Even without factoring in Eddie Kelly, we felt comfortable with everybody coming back on the defensive line. Add him into the mix, even more flexibility. He played interior and edge at both Georgia Tech and South Florida.
Yeah.
Listed at 6'4", 278.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he bumps anybody from the starting lineup, but like we've talked about, who plays the very first snap of the ball game isn't as important as the rotations. Yeah.
I mean, I expect him to play as much as anybody, really. And I'm embarrassed that we forgot his name last week, but obviously
he's too new to the team.
He just committed. But yeah, I think he's super versatile, and I think that's what will get him on the field fastest, is that they'll just plug him in wherever they feel like he's most needed.
I remember reading when he committed, or shortly after, Rock M Nation did a write-up on him, and they compared him to Coney Ely, who did both. And depending on the situation, he would slide inside. And
he was good.
He was good. He ended up in the NFL. So we would take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. That D-line, though. Michael Sam, Shane Ray, Coney Ely. Who am I forgetting?
Marcus Golden. We haven't quite had that level. And that was all on the outside. I mean, Coney Ely, flexible, but I mean, they were just the year. Yeah, Ely and Michael Sam were seniors. And then you had two more guys right behind them, just ready to go.
Yeah, like a bunch of legends, like all at the same time.
Yeah. Factor in Eddie Kelly there, some competitive depth at the defensive line position. And, I don't know if he maybe not as disruptive of a like havoc style playmaker on the defensive line, but he'll just be incredibly solid and versatile. And will allow Missouri to have flexibility in formations and stuff. I think that's almost everything I have, Kyle. Is there anything else? We need to get our hands on that video game. When does that come out? Do you think we could?
I'm foaming at the mouth for it.
Do you think we could apply for like a review copy or something?
Seriously, can I pay to play it early?
You probably can if you probably buy the super deluxe edition for $250.
There you go.
Get to play it 3 days early.
I get to be disappointed before everybody else.
Exactly. I'm going to look up the release date here. It comes out in Google search. All I can see is, I think, July.
Yeah.
So we got a couple months left. So stay tuned for that. Let's see. How do I run this machine here? Anything else you want to say to the folks?
I think that's it.
Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above. Britt Treese, Ryan Demore, Tristan Ben Smith, Parker Daddy JD, Tim Keens, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Groffalo, Brandon Hanks, Matthew Tilley, Luis Hernandez, Joshua Jacobson. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you. And we love you. You can find this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or on Twitter at Missouri Sports Pod. And you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
T-shirts and stickers are our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week. I got a little something here.
Okay.
This little preview, this in consideration for the future of the Missouri Sports Podcast.
Oh.
Nope, that's not it.
He went for it.
Here we go.
Okay.
We'll just let that play us out.
I love it.